Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's MBE Movie News, where we do discuss, of course, all of the latest information news coming from the world of Hollywood and the film industry in general. We're going to be posing existential questions on theatrical releases, cinema as a whole this week, and of course speaking, as you'd probably gather from that headline and thumbnail, on the news that Sam Raimi, the god amongst men that is Sam Raimi, is returning to comic book movies. He has confirmed that he will indeed be directing Doctor Strange 2, obviously the multiverse of madness, stepping into some very big and very successful boots in and obviously his predecessor, that is Scott Derrickson, who was just a fantastic director for that first Doctor Strange movie. Me and Stephen, of course, well, I say of course, if you don't watch our channel a lot, then that is a stupid statement to make, but me and Stephen did, in the last week or so, review Doctor Strange. We went back, of course, having access to all of these amazing MCU movies on Disney Plus. We were able to go back and watch it and give our views on that movie. And look, one thing that struck me was Derrickson's passion for the character, his passion for the lore, the backstory. Doctor Strange has been synonymous with the Marvel Comics for so long. He's one of the OG characters. He was incredibly powerful in the initial runs of the comics. Of course, he has subsequently been neutered throughout the years. He's not quite this demigod that he was back in the day. Still a very interesting, distinctly different character though, always dabbling with horror elements in there. Derrickson, we do know, was a firm lover of horror. He's gone off to work with Steve Rogers himself, Chris Evans, on this new Bermuda Triangle movie, which Sam Raimi was attached to originally. They've done the old switcheroo. Sam is now coming in to direct Doctor Strange in Scott Derrickson's absence. And I think this is a great decision by Disney Marvel and obviously Kevin Feige. It shows a change in strategy for the studio and the demigod that is Kevin Feige in the world of producing. I say that because, of course, Marvel and Disney have always opted for the underexperienced, up-and-coming director in the previous MCU movies. Of course, Jon Favreau aside, and obviously Kenneth Branagh in Thor. They've usually opted for more renown, or less renown, I should say, not more renown. They've always opted for less renown, up-and-coming directors, the likes of the Russos at the time, the likes of Josh Whedon, I want to say, did one of them. And then, of course, also you've had the likes of Taika Waititi in recent years coming in as he's been on the rise to prominence in Hollywood. So I think this is a slightly different change of tack for the studio. Perhaps a recognition of where they are in this new phase of MCU movies, out of the Infinity Saga. They've nothing left to prove to Hollywood, to the big financiers and backers, nothing left to prove to some of the bigger names in Hollywood. Well, perhaps before, superhero movies would have been looked down at, derided as being absolute trash. Of course, if you're Martin Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, you will completely disagree. You will think they are merely amusement park rides and they are not proper cinema. But I think situations have changed over the last 10-15 years. People now view these movies as a good source of potential to get a career back on track, perhaps, or just to come in and do something different. Of course, we're seeing Spielberg tackling comic book movies shortly as well, and Sam Raimi is no stranger to that genre. He did an amazing job with the first two Spider-Man movies in the early 2000s. Third one, not so good, but I don't think it was down to him. I think it was just an array of different reasons coming in to make that an absolute shit show of a movie for me. Not terrible, but it wasn't great by any means, nowhere near the first or second one. But it's great to see this guy coming back, purely for what it says. It represents a change of tack for Disney. We perhaps will see more directors of renown and fame coming in and doing these movies. Less of a reliance on up-and-coming directors, which is good in its own way as well. And we've seen that with actors. And also just because it's going to see Sam Raimi coming in. Of course, this is a man who's no stranger to horror genre either, because we do know this movie will dabble in the horror side of things. He has obviously worked in the likes of The Evil Dead and whatnot back in the day. He's worked in Army of Darkness and a whole array of different sci-fi sort of horror tinged movies, and he's a fantastic director. He really is a superb guy, superb director, and he is passionate for Doctor Strange as well. Of course, if you have been reading the news recently in the world of film, you will know that the man did leave a little Easter egg, which was perhaps overlooked at the time in the Spider-Man movies, showing perhaps some pre-dereliction, I can't even think of the word at the moment, for what was perhaps to come, him getting his teeth into this fantastic character. It will be really cool to see how he gels with Benedict Cumberbatch, Benedict Wong, and obviously Chiwetel Ejiofor, I want to say his name is. I can never say that guy's name correctly, but look guys, very exciting news indeed. I'm happy on all counts. I'm happy for the new change in tack for the studio, and perhaps it's something we will see as I go into this next topic, that Disney may have to rely on more and more, less of a reliance on underexperienced performers and more a reliance on trusted hands who can come in and steer movies to guaranteed success, because there is a change in the landscape for cinema, a change in the landscape for theatrical release strategies, for lack of a better word, of course the coronavirus pandemic currently engulfing the world. Thousands of people dying every day all over the planet, in the US, in the UK, in Italy, Spain, all over the place. Everything's shut down. Most countries are in quarantine unless you're in Sweden. Movies are being delayed all over the place. People aren't able to go out to theatres, and this is having ramifications for theatre companies and the industry as a whole, where it goes after this when things dissipate and the lockdown is lessened and people can go out again. Perhaps a day when we have a vaccine and people can mingle together in a communal experience, enjoying the art of cinema once again. Where will it be? Will studios have confidence? Will things go back to the way they were, or will they now go off into a brave new world where, following the success of Trolls World Tours hit on VOD, going straight to video on demand, will they see that as a potential new future where we see lesser sized movies, mid-budget and down, perhaps just going straight to streaming, straight to video on demand, straight to rental, and just maybe reserving the theatre going experience and long runs at the box office for your likes of your MCU movies, your big Disney Warner Brother movies, your Star Wars movies, your Avatars, movies which are guaranteed success, big tentpole blockbuster movies like Godzilla vs Kong, and perhaps movies with tried and tested directors behind them, the likes of a Spielberg, a Scorsese, a Paul Thomas Anderson, a Christopher Nolan, a Denis Villeneuve, maybe now even a Bong Joon-ho, guys like that who the studios can have a degree of confidence in coming in and making a really good movie which is going to draw people out, get bums in seats and make the old spondulics for the studios. I think we are definitely going to see a distinctly different world after the coronavirus. A very, very intriguing article that came in from Forbes broke this down. It really did catch my attention. It came from Scott Mendelson, who is a senior contributor in that very publication. He really did go down into great detail about perhaps a grim future where movie theatres only exist for the very biggest movies, the very biggest blockbusters and franchises, where studios, as I did say, will produce movies for straight to streaming services, straight to VOD. And I just think that this is maybe perhaps an excuse for the likes of a Warner Brothers, a Disney, an MGM, a Lionsgate. They have seen what Netflix have been doing over the last 10 years. They have seen the rise and prominence of streaming services like Hulu and Amazon Prime, and now HBO Plus, Max, whatever the hell they're doing with, I think they're doing it with MGM as well. They're bringing in the Bond movies. Just seeing the growing rise in streaming, the streaming age, the growing rise in the golden era of TV shows, people perhaps not having as much of an inclination to go out and watch movies in a theatre, more drawn to just sitting in their house, Netflixing and chilling with a popcorn and a wine and perhaps a partner next to them and whatnot, their dog if they're on their lonesome, and just being more cosy in that surrounding. And perhaps they have seen this as an excuse, I think, and utilising this whole coronavirus pandemic as a chance for them just to transition stealthily under the guise of uncertainty during the pandemic and people perhaps not being comfortable coming out afterwards, to a new era where they just make mid and budget size movies straight for the streaming services and whatnot. We don't see true artistic independent movies getting substantial runs in the theatre anymore. And I think that'd be a sad thing, because whilst I strongly disagreed with Scorsese's comments on the MCU destroying cinema as we know it, how they were taking over and it was restricting the chances of independent filmmakers to make movies with big budgets. Whilst I disagree with that, because there's a whole... I'm not going to get into that again, that could be another 10 minutes of conversation. We have the same varied amount of movies coming out now as we did 30-40 years ago. It's just that some are getting more eyes than others, and that's always been the case. Look at Star Wars, look at Aliens and whatnot, Jaws back in the day. Although some would say they are independent movies, and they would be right, certainly in Star Wars and Jaws' case. But look, why I would agree, even though I disagree about the MCU thing, is because the loss of independent filmmaking would be devastating. You just look at the great directors that have come up in recent years who have really cut their teeth in the independent scene before stepping into some big blockbusters. As I did say, the likes of the Russos, Taika Waititi, just to name a few. Bong Joon-ho has just rose slowly over the last 10 years. Well, some would say he's been a big name, but I wasn't aware of him until very recently. These guys wouldn't get a chance. They would not get a chance in a landscape where movies are just going straight to streaming. They wouldn't get a chance to make a big tentpole blockbuster at any point. It would be reserved for the likes of a Spielberg, the likes of established directors who can come in and really guarantee money for these studios. I think it's a terribly sad future. It's a dark dystopian future that I hope doesn't transpire. I want to see things go back to a degree of normality in life as a whole and for cinema. People getting out and enjoying the silver screen once again, getting to see a wide array of movies like we did 30-40 years ago, like we were getting before the pandemic despite the MCU, and not have this structured system where certain levels of movies don't get a chance in the theatres, they go straight to VOD, and some do. But look, the thing I will add about this is that it is interesting because we are seeing a sort of changing tides of the entertainment industry. Of course, 10, 15, 20 years ago, movies that went straight to VOD were decried as absolute shit shows. They were a disgrace, they were an embarrassment, resigned to the budget basket in perhaps a Walmart or an Asda over here. They were a joke, and look now, what kind of movies been made to go to cinema and straight to VOD? We're getting the likes of Togo on Disney+, movies like Lady and the Tramp, big movies like Underground 6, I think it was, with Ryan Reynolds and whatnot, straight to VOD. The Irishman had a very limited theatrical release, straight to VOD, streaming after that. So it's intriguing to watch from afar the change in the landscape of Hollywood, although I hope it doesn't change quite so dramatically after the coronavirus dissipates. But look guys, I'm going to move on, because I've spoke the hind legs off that one, to the next topic coming in from Cinema Blend. This one is all about one Denis Villeneuve's new movie, Dune. There has been an avalanche of news released about this very exciting up-and-coming movie from the great man himself. The one that had this movie that, of course, that has an incredible cast. The likes of Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin in there. We do have Jason Momoa. We have Zendaya. Timothée Chalamet. What a cast, what a premise. This has been done before. We have had TV shows, I want to say in the early 2000s. We have had a movie back in the day. I have not seen any of them. I am getting into this completely oblivious to what this whole story is about, but Jesus Christ, is my mouth a-watering after seeing some of these images that have come out, just conveying a sense of enormity in the landscapes behind these actors that is quite frankly dumbfounding. It is mind-bending. Beautiful desert tundras with lovely mountainous regions in the background. It looks enormous, like Blade Runner 2049 or 48, whatever it was. How that looked absolutely gigantic. It was incredible, the sense of scale that Roger Deakins managed to convey, of course, with Villeneuve once again. So there is no coincidence, I feel, that this man is once again tackling a sci-fi movie with great promise. Blade Runner's a fantastic world as well. I hope he gets back to that one day. And then giving us some of these same sort of vibes in the initial release of photographs for it. Also, the set design looks incredible too. Costume design, I should say, not set design. Oscar Isaac in particular looks fantastic with that armour on. It looks medieval, but it also looks futuristic. It quite simply looks absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to see this movie. Josh Brolin looks magnificent too. And Momoa looks very interesting. He is wearing a suit, or a shirt it looks like, that could have come straight out of a Casanova movie, but he rocks it with such bravado and masculinity that you're simply dumbstruck by the man. But look, I look on and I read some quotes here about this movie, and it is very, very intriguing indeed what I'm hearing about it. Just what has went into this, from the likes of Chalamet speaking about uncomfortable conditions, but how he enjoys it. They had 100-degree shoots, sometimes 120. They'd have to take the actors off the set because they couldn't keep working. But he found that it grounded his performance in a real way, that it made it helpful for him in some of the still suits, because he was at a certain level of exhaustion, which in a strange way helped convey whatever the hell emotions were going on with his character at that point. We've also had Villeneuve coming out and speaking about it as well, and I'm always intrigued when this man speaks. You feel the passion coming out of every pore in his body, and you feel that this is something that he is really up for making. He's of course going to be splitting this movie into two. I think it's been filmed sequentially or concurrently, the two movies, like they did with Endgame and Infinity War. But it's going to also be released in two different movies. He feels that there's too much story, there's too much detail. The art is in the detail in the novel for them to cram it into one movie. And he actually says that. He says, I would not agree to make this adaptation of the book with one single movie. The world is too complex. It's a world that takes its power in details. Now that again, just it's something that really does excite me, because all of the great sci-fi movies, all of the great sci-fi stories, you think of The Lord of the Rings, A Song of Ice and Fire, maybe even Harry Potter to a degree, they are rich settings, they are rich in detail, the character explanations, the world is enveloped in you when you're reading these books. And that's something that excites me very, very much, to see that this has been spoken of in a similar light. I do apologise, I'm looking down at my iPad. I am trying to find the breakdown of the themes that this novel goes into, because I do think it is very, very present in today's society. Some of the themes that are explored in this novel, I feel like they still have a place just now. I mean, this movie, I don't think this novel's all that old. It's not like Lord of the Rings level, but certainly you look at what they are doing in terms of what the themes they're touching upon in this movie, and it's themes that speak about climate and the change in it, sexuality, gender fluidity and whatnot. There's things going on in there which are very, very intriguing indeed to me. And with this great guy coming in and doing what I know he'll do, he always does it, absolute gold director, bringing in great performances from this very rich and talented cast, opening up enormous tundras and giving us a real sense of rich detail. I just cannot wait to see this movie. It's, I think, my number one anticipated movie of 2020. I did do a video about it, and I'm pretty sure I made it number one for me. He also spoke about Stellan Skarsgård, another great actor I should say, and why he tried to embellish out the character of the Baron, who was flirting, he says, with caricature at various different times within the actual novel, the story itself. And he says that he brought him in, Stellan, to play this character so he could add another dimension, that he does something with the eyes that conveys a sense of thought whirling around in the head, that he's such a good actor, and it can be quite frightening to see at times. Now, of course, I have not read the book, I have not seen the TV show, the original movie, so I am completely blind, but I'm going to go and read the book, because I feel like prior to seeing this movie I have to have that foundation of knowledge before going in. And it's something that's beautiful. I did it with The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Once you go back and see the movies with the books in mind, it just makes the experience all more enriching. So look guys, I'm really excited to see this, really excited to see what Denis is going to give us, what performances the likes of Chalamet and Brolin and Brolin I should say, not Brosnan, Josh Brolin, not Brosnan, I always want to say Brosnan, I don't know why, it's wrong. I'm excited to see what they give us in terms of performances and whatnot. But look guys, I'm going to move on to the final topic on today's show. I feel like I've been gibbering away nonsensically. I'm sure someone will put a withering put down in the comment section telling me that I've been going on and on and on and on. But look, I'm going to move on to the final topic and stop going on and on and on. This one's all about James Gunn, giving us some perils of positivity in the midst of absolute abject horror and devastation and depression with the coronavirus. He has says that his up-and-coming two distinctly different comic book movies, The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and The Suicide Squad, are both safe from delay. Now this is very happy news indeed, because of course we have seen the likes of Black Widow being delayed, Eternals being delayed, the New Mutants being delayed, Wonder Woman 1984 being delayed, James Bond No Time to Die being delayed. It's just delay after delay after delay. So to see a director coming out and saying that, look, no, these movies will not be affected by the shuffling of schedules and whatnot, is very uplifting news indeed. He said on Twitter, in response to some guy called Epaminondas, who asked him, do you personally think the film will be pushed back? He says, right now there is no reason for the Suicide Squad release date to move. We are on or ahead of schedule. We were extremely fortunate to wrap shooting and set up editing from our homes due to post-production team and studio with foresight before quarantine. Right now, he went on to say to a reply to another guy that plans for Volume 3 Guardians of the Galaxy, that is, are also exactly the same as they were before coronavirus. So look, I'm very, very happy about this, because these are two movies that I'm very much looking forward to. The Suicide Squad, look, I didn't hate the first one. I didn't think it was particularly good, but it wasn't shit either. Will Smith and Margot Robbie helped semi-redeem that movie with their performances. Cara Delevingne wasn't great as the villain. Jared Leto was an absolute abomination as Joker, but look, his role was cut down to nothing really, so I can't blame him. But there was enough little things in there to keep me intrigued for a potential sequel. And with James Gunn coming in and giving as much like a Villeneuve his own distinct style, different to Villeneuve of course, with comedy and music, and getting great performances out of characters, goofy characters, the likes of a Rocket Raccoon and Guardians, the likes of a Drax, that twinkle-headed thing, that always the antenna woman, I can never remember her name, and obviously Star-Lord, Peter Quill, Chris Pratt. He can get good performances out of actors and can really give us colourful, zany characters, which we're going to get in abundance in this upcoming Suicide Squad movie, and he can do it well, and it's going to pop, and it's going to be very, very good. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about it, and the fact that they do have the foresight and they are working from home and he's helping in the editing process, getting thrown into cups of coffee, the lucky shit, and doing watch-alongs with Guardians of the Galaxy is very, very good news in a time of absolute shittiness. As for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, also very excited for that as well, to see how he's going to try and splice a Thor into this story, how it's going to build on Gamora being this character out of time. She has relationships pre-established, but she's not aware of them, trying to find herself. It's almost like an amnesia story. Maybe she's going off to do some gruesome shit and they have to bring her back to the light. There's going to be some interesting themes getting explored in this movie, and the fact that it's on time, perhaps 2022, is very, very good for me and all comic book fans who love these movies. But look, guys, I am done speaking. I'm done speaking about all topics. I was going to fling in a brief little topic about Jordan Peele and why he is happy he never directed Candyman. He allowed an upcoming young director to do it. But to be quite frank with you, I never watched the original Candyman, and I have no inclination to watch it either. Probably watch a new one, but I'm just not armed with enough wealth of knowledge to give that subject any justice whatsoever. So I'm going to round the show up on that note. What do you guys make about the news of Sam Raimi coming in to direct Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? I was about to say Stephen Strange. Yeah, what is wrong with me? What do you think is going to happen with the world of cinema, the theatrical going experience post-coronavirus pandemic shenanigans? Do you think it will go back to normal? Or do you think the nefarious studios are using this as an excuse to slip out some mid-budget releases straight to VOD and miss that theatre release schedule? What's your thoughts on Dune? Are you as excited about me about what Denis Villeneuve's going to give us, about the enormity of the setting, about the story, about bringing in Stellan Skarsgård to give us some meaty eye movement? What's your thoughts on James Gunn revealing that his two upcoming movies are indeed not going to be delayed? If you have anything to say at all, you can comment below and let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of my ugly mush speaking at 200 miles an hour and gibbering on nonsensically for way too long. And if you do, then you will see me doing exactly that tomorrow with Stephen for our review of one David Fincher's Panic Room.